Hey, it's James here, and I want to talk to you about employee one-on-ones because as a leader, this is pound for pound one of the highest leveraged uses of your time. And so let me just walk you through a really simple model that we use when we're training managers all around the world of how to have amazing one-on-ones. And so I'm going to go to my screen here. I'm going to show you a few slides. Now, you're probably not going to have a one-on-one on a mountain in front of a fire, though that would be cool. Maybe not for HR, but anyways, let's talk a little bit about one-on-ones. So one-on-ones from an employee perspective, they do a lot of things, right? They build trust. They're one of the best ways that you can build trust with your staff. Secondly, they help your staff grow. I mean, if you ever feel like employees, or if employees have ever complained that they don't feel like they're being developed, then chances are you're not having one-on-ones or you're not using them effectively. It's a fantastic place to coach. I'll show you in a minute. Also, helps employees feel aligned and purposeful about their work. If you ever work someplace and you just feel like you're coming in and going through the motions, sort of like being on a treadmill, well, it's not fun, is it? Well, sometimes our employees can feel like that, and on one-on-ones protect them from that, helps them feel aligned. Also, to give them specific feedback to help them make adjustments. So that feedback becomes clarity for them, and this is huge for their motivation. And then also just setting the time aside communicates that they are a priority, right? So we have a value that we put on time, and when you set that time aside for that employee, then they feel like, oh, this is important. And what we don't want one-on-ones to be, oh, and they also help with communication. I hate when I forget there's one more bullet. So what we don't want to do though is get into the trap that we're just too busy. And you legitimately might be too busy. I get that. And that's why I'm going to show you just a simple framework that you can use for one-to-ones. But often I'll hear people say to me, well, I mean, I see my employee every day. We see each other all the time. And I get that, but that's a little bit like telling your kid, hey, we're not going to celebrate your birthday because, oh, I see you every day, right? It's just like, that wouldn't go over well. So this idea that, no, there's a time that is set aside for a specific purpose, and it's to help them. And it's actually driven by four things, which I'll get to in just a moment. So when I'm teaching one-on-ones, I will break it into these four sections. I'm going to walk through just briefly what these sections are as we talk through them. Connection and clarity, performance and feedback, growth and development, business and communication. So before I get to that, though, let me say this. A great one-on-one doesn't have to take a long time, but it's going to take longer than 5 minutes. A great one-on-one is not a quarterly evaluation session of their performance, right? It's not a performance review. Performance reviews, one-on-ones, completely different meetings. You have to have the performance reviews, I get that, but a one-on-one is something that's going to be more constant. And my recommendation is that people have them every other week with their employees. Now, you might think, well, I'm too busy to do that. Well, then maybe you can have a short check-in every other week and a longer one-on-one once a month. But there's something about this continuity that's very important. It's very important to the whole process. So let's just walk through these these four sections. Obviously, I'm not teaching this in detail. This is a whole workshop in itself. But you know what we want to do in the one-on-ones, if we think of it in these segments, the first segment is really what we call connection. That's that place to check in with the employee, set an agenda for the time together, have them share wins and positive news. But the most important piece in that initial part of that meeting is just the check-in. It's just driven by a simple concern. I want you to do well. And you're going to see how each of these four boxes corresponds to a concern that you want to have as a leader. I want you to do well, right? I want to make sure you're doing well. And so that check-in can have all different kinds of flavors to that, but the idea there is that it's finally some time amidst the busyness to just go, hey, how are you? How are things? How's your stress level, right? And as if you know your employee, more, then there's probably more about their life that you know. And so if their mom's in the hospital, yeah, you want to check in on that. How's that going? How's that impacting you? How can I help? Right? All of that communicates that you care, and that's an important piece of the one-on-one. So not that that's like a check the box kind of thing, but it's a space for you to be able to have that time to care. So maybe this will help understand the concept. I obviously had dinner every night with my family and my kids, and once a week I would take my kids out on a hangout with my daughters. We called it a date. But I remember when each of my kids, at some point when they were in high school, I said, "Hey, let's take off just on a dad-daughter trip." Took one of my daughters to Costa Rica, and we just hung out there for a while. And that time that we had, that time created deeper conversations. And that wouldn't have happened just in the busyness of life. And so that's why we want to have some time that's protected. That's what I'm getting at. We want to have some time that's protected. Second part of the one-on-one is where we are going to jump into their performance, progress, obstacles. And typically when people think of a one-on-one, they think this is what a one-on-one is, right? Just let me go in, find out how they're doing on their project, and let me troubleshoot with them and help them. And so what happens is that the one-to-one becomes like a co-working time. And you don't want that to happen. You can set up a separate co-working time if they need some help, but the one-on-one has a very specific purpose. And in this section, yes, it is to check on their progress. It is to give them feedback. And of course, it's to help them through any obstacles. But if it looks like it's going to be like, oh, there's a lot more help that you're going to need from me, great, then set up a separate time for that. Don't make it a co-working session. But definitely we want to check in on their performance, talk about their progress, talk about any obstacles, what are they doing to get past them. And then this is a great place, obviously, for feedback and praise. So we want to have the one-on-ones be a really positive experience for people. Like we want them to come into the one-on-one and leave there more charged up and energized than ever, which is why we don't want to save up heavy conversations for the one-to-one, right? Let's say you need to have a difficult conversation with them, or there's a reprimand or something like that. Well, you don't want to do that in the one-to-one because you don't want to, it's like taint the water, if I can say that. You want to protect the one-on-one as a really great time for them where they get helped. It doesn't mean that you're not going to say some straight things, but overall, if we were to measure the temperature of the one-to-one, people leave there like that was great. All right. So that's what we want to be doing when we think about the one-on-one. Lots of space for praise. The third section is where we're checking in on their development. And this is where we are doing some coaching. And the idea is that you have already set them up on some sort of coaching path, right? So they're already set up on some kind of coaching path, and you're just checking in to see how they're doing on that, giving them feedback, helping them make tweaks to that. But again, a chance for feedback and praise. But now we're specifically talking about their development. And then the last section has to do, get my head out of there. The last section is really just more business. That's where you are going to talk about any of the agenda items you haven't hit yet that weren't already covered. So maybe they wanted to know if they can take the second week of November off, and now you're going to get to that answer. Any important news that you have about the company, because you're probably in meetings that they're not. What do they need to know? So you want to keep them in the loop. And then, of course, next steps. You are leaving that one-to-one with them understanding exactly where they need to go next, where they need to focus, and all of that good stuff. But the one-on-ones are driven by 4 desires. I covered one of them already, right? I want to make sure you're doing well. Well, the second desire is I want to make sure you're having success or that you're making progress. That's an important piece to us as humans. Thirdly, I want to make sure you're growing. And fourthly, I want to make sure you're in the loop. And so those 4 desires cover those 4 boxes. So here's the thing with the one-on-ones. Make them a priority. I know that sometimes things get in the way. This happens to me. I will have to go on the road. go visit a company or speak at a conference, and the time when I would have a one-on-one with a staff member has to change, but then I got to reschedule that. So make them a priority, right? They're very important. If they're a priority to you, your staff will feel like they are a priority. They should end positive, even if you have difficult things to say. So you want to think through that. It's not that you can't have difficult conversations in your one-to-one, but you need lots of space on the other end of that for feedback, praise, so they feel empowered as they come out. You can also precede some questions on the invite before, the day before. Like if you want to know, hey, I'd love to get your feedback on the team and how you think we can do better as a team, or what do you think the morale is if you were to rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, or any question that you want to know, you can give them some time to think about and precede them before you get there, before they get there. And then these help an employee move to the right on the motivation scale. So if you've heard me talk about this before, from very external controlled motivation all the way to the right side, which is intrinsic motivation. When people are intrinsically motivated, this is where they bring out the best in themselves. And when we have one-on-ones, that's where we're able to help people move the source of the motivation that they have with how they approach their job. So if you would love to get better at one-on-ones, then I want to let you know about our upcoming cohort where we take 3.5 weeks and we work together with a group of other like-minded leaders that are wanting to get great at one-on-ones. And basically how it works is when you join into the cohort, which is starting soon, what happens is each week you're going to go through some self-paced training. It's about 30 minutes each week that you're going to go through. And then on week 4, you'll be done. You'll have finished all of the training. And on week 4, there's going to be a group coaching call where everyone who went through the program, we're going to talk about what you've implemented, where the challenges were, where the sticking points were, and that's going to help you make tweaks and adjustments as you go forward. So that's the idea. So the Art of One-on-Ones is a really great program to help you learn how to run amazing one-to-ones that are going to motivate and engage your staff. It's going to help you know how to coach your staff better, how to give feedback better, all of these good things. If you're interested in checking this out, then here's the URL. I apologize that it's such a long URL. I will put this somewhere, wherever you're watching this. If you're watching this on LinkedIn, I'll put this in the comments or in the post. If you're watching it on YouTube, it'll be in the description section. Wherever you're watching it, I'll try to have a link somewhere. But if you would like to get better as a leader, then this is one of those places that when you master this, it's going to put you into that top percentile of leaders in the country, because everybody wants a great boss, and one-on-ones are what great bosses do. And in this program, we're going to show you how to do it. Anyways, that's all I got for you today. Like I said, would love to see you in the Art of One-on-Ones. And as you become proficient at leading your staff in that way, you'll be amazed to see the impact on them, their motivation, their morale, and just the overall trust that you have between them and them to you.